I think this is a product announcement, so my tendency is to rank these optional. Looks like they've done some interesting things. They've got some interesting quotes from early customers, but no order of magnitude kind of results. And it looks like they solved some interesting problems potentially, but again, it's a product announcement, so we need to give it some time to see if they've really done anything remarkable here.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, this whole product announcement thing is really. I mean, some of them come out with actual, case studies and so forth. This is just, hey, here's where it is. This, it gives you some information, but really, doesn't give any specifics on Mastercard or AT&T and so forth. Yeah, I was going optional as well. What do you think here, Mark?
Yeah, I'm going to go with optional too. It's Asian Bricks is. I felt like the article was a little bit too technical from my point of view, but it's something that we really need to understand going forward.
All right, Paul, I'm guessing that I'm going to get this from you.
Yeah, no, I actually think it's the opposite. This is what we saw 2 years ago, that if you were a product marketing person, you should be fired if you didn't have an AI-based feature. So now we have Einstein Salesforce. Now we have every application saying they have agents. So SAP agent, Workforce agent, Brick agents here, Microsoft agents here. So definitely super duper optional.
I remember seeing an American Standard ad for their toilets one time in a magazine. It had a picture of an brand new American Standard toilet in the corner. It said, "American Standard, we're not in it for the glory." So anyway. So maybe American Standard has agents. All right. Ankash, you good with an optional? What do you think?
Optional, John.
All right. Optional it is. Next.
Okay, the next one that we have comes from Fortune magazine and talks about how AI is changing how employees train and starting to reduce how much training they need.
Yeah, not to prejudice the witness, but I found this incredibly interesting. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, what's really happening, I think, is I call this almost like the democratization of being able to make training. These products are so good now that somebody who doesn't have any kind of background in learning and development can take a script and make something that looks professional, and they can do it in an hour, when back in the day, a year or two ago, that might take 5 days for a pro to turn around. We actually own a copy of Synesthesia, and I mean, it works. And we've made tons of videos with it, and they look great. We demoed another product yesterday called Letter AI, which we're going to see a lot of in the future, and that's role playing with an avatar. And the natural speech quality that you get out of that is incredible. It's like talking to a real person.
Mm-hmm.
And that has evolved rapidly and looks and feels great. And there's a third product that we're looking at called HiGen, where you can actually coach the avatar on how to move and what words to speak with. So for me, it feels like it's an ongoing revolution. All of our products now have AI in them. And it's fascinating to see how they develop. So for me, I'd rate this article as important simply because that's my business. And this
All right.
stuff.
Head for important. It's right down the fairway here. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I was on the boundary between optional and important. It's a good article and good reporting and reasonably well written. It's got some nice quotes. It doesn't say anything earth-shattering that we didn't already know, but it's a good, concise set of reporting and examples.
Yeah, what do you think, Paul?
Yeah, definitely important here. I mean, I really liked, we certainly have seen that obviously coding is on fire in terms of innovation here. But Mark, years ago, I spent 4 years at a company that did micro-learning, and I know a little bit about the L&D space, and that space hasn't seen that much innovation after micro-learning. So this is just a sea change. And I think, John, we talked a lot about Gen AI being the most important, the most patient, customized tutor at all levels of traditional education. And corporate education is the same thing. So I think it's important, Mark, and important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's at least important. Whether or not it's essential. I mean, this whole issue of training, on-demand knowledge, education, and so forth. I'm going to post a thing I did a while ago at MIT on Socrates at scale. But fundamentally, if I can learn twice as fast as you can learn, and I'm teaching my people stuff that's relevant to my customers or relevant to my business. You know, and dialogue teaching, there's tutoring, if you will, has, in some of the research, has 2 standard deviations better result. That's, you know, over 90% better result by having a tutor as opposed to a 1 to 30 classroom. So I don't know. I just think is that, and then there's all this other stuff in training, like you learn is the whole theory of homophily. You know, you learn better from people who look and sound like you. I mean, it's just a ton of things here. So at least important.
John, one thing we talked about is essential articles being key articles. We're encouraging AI leader to forward to another colleague in the department to make sure they're also staying current here. I mean, this almost falls in that category for the L&D lead.
Yeah, I mean, if I were back at PwC, I'd be going heavy into the L&D budget for the U.S. alone at PwC is $400 million a year. That was back, you know, over a decade ago, and yeah, I'd be looking at that budget and saying, look, can I carve out $100 million to, you know, spread more capability and understanding throughout my customers as well as my employees? I don't know. Ankash, where are you on this one?
So John, I think the topic here is essential, but the article may be important.
So what do we do? We're going to go essential here or important? I need help. Paul, you pushing for essential? Is that what you're saying?
I'm leaning essential just because this is a fresh area that I think Mark is really articulate on it. So
all right,
yeah, let's do it. Essential.
Essential it is. All right.
Okay.
I have two teachers in my. I have 3 teachers in my family. I'm a teacher, so what the heck? All right, cost controls. Scaling AI without going broke. Go for it, Ankash.
Right. So this guy, he provides explainable levers and a disciplined workflow that can turn runaway token fees into predictable, profitable AI budget.
Yeah, I thought this was as written by Eleanor Berger. You know, this notion of having a disciplined approach. To understanding what your costs are, to figure out what the model match is and so forth. If you talk to anybody who's actually implementing these models, I think all this stuff is pretty straightforward. So I think it's AI expertise here. I think they're trying to sell their services. I didn't find it that compelling. Certainly an important issue, but Ankash, if you go down to the 8 cost levers to pull: model selection, prompt engineering, retrieval precision, workflow decomposition, pre-processing, batching, context caching, commercial strategy. I mean, if you just sit out, if you just go, I did a pricing study for one of our clients, and if you just go to the suppliers' websites, they say all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like you go to AWS and start buying tokens, they'll tell you to do all this stuff to decrease your cost. And if you have any kind of demand, they have engineers that will help you optimize your load against their infrastructure. So definitely optional here for me. What do you guys think?
I had to laugh a little bit when I was reading this article because I thought, who cares? It's going to get cheap. It'll be commoditized and way cheaper in a year from now. And then if you scroll to the bottom, they say the same thing.
Yeah, although we are seeing people worrying about the cost, even as we're building our robots. We did our first robot for some of the work we're doing. It took about 10 hours. It was a lot of dough, and now we've got it down about 4 minutes. So you can do a lot.
Wow.
So.
Yep. I agree, and I agree with optional. I almost could rate it important just because it's all in one place and it's a useful framework for folks if they don't have one already. But this material is not new.
All right, Paul, Big O.
Big O, John, and I did want to highlight comment on Vivek on an earlier article on L&D. He actually took the article and sent it around to his L&D leader here. So we're actually seeing live in-show forwarding of articles. So
there you go.
But optional for this article.
All right, optional it is. Ankash, next.
The next one comes from Mistral, and after launching Mistral Codestral, Magistral, and now they have come up with Mistral Compute.
Yeah, I just such an interesting thing. I just continue to be amazed. I mean, here are investors who've laid down hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, and you're seeing pivots and these strategies that are just wild. You know what I mean? In terms of Paul and I were talking to a large language model company the other day. They said in December we thought we're in the large language model business. Now we don't. So it's just wild. But what do you think here, Ankash?
So John, I think they have done a few things here. So they have launched a full stack AI infra platform. They are using NVIDIA's GPUs, and they are providing the entire bit here. So orchestration layers, APIs, tools for training and inference. And they have started with a set of clients like BNP, Paribas, Thales, Total Energies. Uh, I think it's a important step from a Mistral perspective because they become the only European provider to offer this infrastructure stack, right? So for Europe's AI sovereignty ambitions as well, they are providing on-prem support, so maybe useful for regulated sectors as well. And the entire stack will definitely help Mistral sort of keep customers in their stack only.
Yeah, very interesting. Yes, with the current tariffs and the administration's, the U.S. administration's position on immigration and their aggressiveness in reaching into the capabilities of organizations. Obviously, the Europeans are really trying to have some of the domestic supply, and here we have from bare metal all the way up to the AI studio. What do you think here, Tim?
Yeah, I think that again, it's a product announcement. I think it's very interesting and not that unusual. I mean, this is the classic model of vertical integration, and in particularly in open source, providing a managed infrastructure around the open source so people can have open source if they want open source and do their own thing and DIY it, or they can turn to a risk management, if you will, entity that will take control over everything and just give them a solution out of the box for a monthly fee. So I think it's actually a natural extension of their strategy, and to all your points, makes a lot of sense in the current market because there's an opening here in Europe and in the world in general, given the behavior of America right now. So makes a lot of sense. It's a product announcement. So I would say, if you're in Europe, maybe it's more important, or rest of the world, it's probably optional for most people.
All right, we got an important, we got an optional, Mark.
I'm going to go with optional. I love the idea that we have more competition and more people in the market. That doesn't hurt.
Paul, where are you on this one?
Yeah, it's optional. I do want to do a footnote. One of the things we're doing in a part of the process of updating our buyer's guide is that we're looking at the best revenue numbers we have. And Ankash, you want to share what you learned about revenue numbers from Mistral? They're actually higher than I expected or thought.
It seems like Mistral has a annual revenue run rate of $90 million now. So that close to, I would say, Glean and a few others.
Yeah. So, I mean, we got OpenAI 10 billion, Anthropic at 3 billion. So they're pulling away. But Mistral, I mean, if they're double the size of Cohere, that's notable.
Yeah.
45 or 50.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go important in this one. We got some important, some optional. Like, this is a huge issue for Europe. The other thing we didn't talk a lot about is their real commitment to having AI access, the ability for people to build their own models and so forth. I happen to believe that's incredibly important for the world in general, definitely for democracies, that, if the citizenry is not armed with AI, we're going to have a real problem if we don't already. All right. So we're going to important on this one, Ankash. Put my thumb on the scale there. Power the chalk. Enough democracy for this morning. Okay.
The next one comes from Cartesia, and they have introduced Ink, which is their speech-to-text model for real-time conversation.
Yes, once again, we have the crappy naming people taking over. Text to ink. All right. What do you think here, Mark?
So for me, I think this is important, and it's niche-y, okay? But there's a lot of uses for this, particularly since they've tweaked the model, so it's a little bit more conversational. So you can use this in interactive voice response. You can use this with when agents with robots, and you can use it in video production, marketing production, so on and so forth. So I think it's really cool. It has different voices, different languages. It has different models that you can turn on and turn off, and it's tuned to eliminate background noise and things like that. So I think it's a really cool tool. It's great for folks like me. You don't have to hire voice talent. And this kind of technology gets better and better all the time. It's pretty exciting to see it take place.
So you're ending up with optional.
Yeah, I would.
All right, get an optional here. What do you think, Akash?
Optional for me, John. I think another model doing all the similar things that we have seen. So in the last, I would say 3 weeks, we have seen at least 8 models in either text to speech, speech to text space, and a lot of them open source as well. So I
Mhm.
would say nothing new here.
All right,
Yeah, this
Tim?
is going to end up being basic model stuff. And, it's interesting. These guys are well known for their text to speech, but it's only really marginally better. And the catch up is going to happen so fast. I think for most people, if you use the voice interface from OpenAI, you're like, okay, that's good enough. So I think it's a marginal benefit. Maybe these guys will get bought by one of the big players, but all this is going to be baked into all the models. So
Yeah.
I think it's optional. Mhm.
Paul, Big O?
Yes.
All righty. And we end up with our friend Ethan Mollick and a bunch of the Wartarians, the alma mater of our president.
Right, John. So they talk about the decreasing value of chain of thought in prompting.
All right, Tim, what do you think?
I think this is optional. It's interesting enough, but in fact, I think to your point earlier, all the companies will tell you, hey, guess what? We've integrated mostly chain of thought into all of our models. So don't do chain of thought in your prompt. It's already there. In fact, it can send things backwards if you're not careful. So it's a study that proves what we already know. Okay. But we kind of already know it.
Right.
Okay, a lot of words on they don't call it research for nothing, right? All right. What do you think here, Paul?
Yeah, I think it's optional. I do find it interesting. Once we get a vector of new stuff here, someone always runs at the research to find the potential limits of it. Large language models are going to tap out chain of thought, but optional. I mean, it's just we continue to be in an amazing set of everyday miracles on flexibilities of prompts and the stuff here, and it's breathtaking.
Yeah, what do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I'd go optional too. Just let the reasoning model reason.
Akash?
Sorry, optional, John.
All right, optional it is. It's interesting when you say, Paul, about how the researchers do it. It's funny. The great researchers continue to ask big questions, and the not so great researchers, kind of go after little questions that are obvious but provable.
Yeah.
Anyway, in one man's opinion. All right. Any announcements or anything, Mark? Anything new going on with Invoice Cloud?
They're up to all sorts of tricks. But nothing that I can fill in yet. We're looking really hard at doing a lot more stuff with Gen AI right now.
Yeah.
Well,
Mark, I'm interested in your kind of focus on learning and stuff. What's the biggest obstacle you're seeing with your employees adopting it? Skills, mindset, incentives, confidence.
It's confidence. It's overcoming that's scary. I'm not, that's for other people that are smarter than I am. I'm not sure how this whole thing works. What if I blow something up? So what we're focusing on is showing people really practical applications of how you can use Gen AI. That's what I'm doing now. I've got like 15 videos that are out there that show people how to do really basic work that will speed up their workflow.
Yeah,
so I think
cool.
that's
Yeah, we're seeing a similar thing in a lot of the companies. I'll tell you, that's for sure.
And Mark, I know we're trading emails on. We're going to get you to Learning Lab to share some of your ROI for your.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, great, super.
That'd be great.
Yeah. And this Monday's Learning Lab, John, is Dan Slavin's going to show an agent he built with N8N and OpenAI. NAN is a lightweight open source agent tool that we're hearing a lot more in the marketplace, and Dan's going to walk through actual live application on it this Monday at 7. That's
wonderful. And we'll promote again tomorrow. Tim, anything new at Manette?
Not beyond the usual stuff. We have for those interested, we do a ton of publications, and you can go to manat.com to find them. One I would highly recommend right now is they've started a new newsletter called the 80 Million, which is about what's happening to Medicaid right now, and people don't realize it, but Medicaid covers 80 million people, so almost 50% more than Medicare, and most of them are not poor. They're mostly children and disabled people. So it's interesting, and we also have regular seminars on AI, particularly regulatory and legal issues around AI.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by the regulatory and legal work you guys do. Paul?
Tim, one on that, just on the understanding Medicare and Medicaid coverage. I had lunch with a really senior person yesterday. He's helping his mom. It's been tremendously helpful, OpenAI, and trying to understand coverage and everything else, which is incredibly complicated by region and class and everything else.
Unreal. Yep. Well, we'll see. If this Republican bill passes, it's going to get different really fast. All righty. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. See you all tomorrow early in the morning for more AI news. Bye-bye now.
Mark, wonderful. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Bye. Thank you.